Hello, 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 hello. I'm just tuning my audio here. All right, let's see here. Hello, everyone. Let me know in the chat here if you can hear me audio well, and please also let me know about the quality of the audio. And I'm just getting a couple of things here set up, and then we'll get ready to start the Ask Me Anything session. All right, 5x5. Thank you very much. That's a great radio check. A bit loud. How about now? I'm going to tune it down until I'm getting into kind of the green-yellow zone here. So let's see if this is better. All right. Okay, and can you see me? You're good. All right. Thank you, everyone. All of these streams, Ask Me Anything, things like that, they start with technical checks, radio checks, just like you would do in a spacecraft. So I think that this fits well. So first of all, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining this Ask Me Anything session. It's great to have you here, and welcome to the Reentry release party. This is the Reentry 1.0 Ask Me Anything session. So yeah, I'm all set. So if you guys want to ask me any questions, do so in the chat. I'll try to monitor this and answer as many as I can. And then after this session, I'm planning to jump into Apollo, and I'm going to fire up the new flight plan mode and talk a little bit about the flight plan mode and how it works. So make sure that you join that session as well if you want to kind of see all that and what that is all about. So hello everyone, and I see that there was one question initially here, so let me know if I'm missing someone, but I've the first question is, let's see here. So I'm still in the Mercury program, so I've yet to play with others. I was wondering if the moon was rendered from the available terrain data, and also, can you land anywhere? Well, that's a good question. The plan with the moon is obviously to be able to get into a state where the lunar surface is rendered in a ratio between 1:1 with you and the craft, and you would be able to land absolutely anywhere. In the current implementation of the moon, you can do so. So wherever you decide to land, you will need to descend, of course, in the lunar module, and then touch down on the lunar surface. But I've yet to figure out the proper way to make the huge landscape, the lunar landscape, fit into the already immensely large world and complex scene setup of Reentry. So yes, you can land anywhere, and yes, all the terrain data is based on a height map from the actual available terrain data for the moon. So it's based on realistic data. It's just that it's scaled down a little bit to make it fit. However, I do have a YouTube video from about a year ago where I'm doing some research and development. And in that video, I'm showcasing a potential solution of having a one-to-one mapping between the actual size of the moon, all rendered in the game, and it's already integrated. So in that video, I'm firing up the lunar module and I'm landing on the moon, and you can see a very similar horizon to what you might be used to seeing on the real photographs from the moon. And then as a bonus, I drive around on the lunar rover on that lunar surface. So be sure to check that out. It's a video. Maybe someone can post the link in the chat here. But yeah, let's move on to the next question. And I'm monitoring the chat here at the same time, so it's going to be a little bit of between every question I need to scroll down. So what is your main scientific source, mainly for the historic spacecraft and flight plans? What was the hardest data to find? So this is another good question. All of your questions is going to be good, so I'm not going to repeat that for every question, but the main scientific source are official papers used by the real astronaut, used during training of the astronauts. I've been using the PDFs. The NAS developers, Mike, has been really great at sharing his scans of scientific and historical documents that I use to be able to implement the craft here. Most of the flight manuals, PDFs, are all in public and available, and I've received a lot of great resources from the community as I've been developing this game. So on the webpage, reentrygame.com, I have a set of manuals that you can open up and read. And in every flight manual that comes with the game, there's a link to the manual that I've been mainly using as a source. Another very important source is the community. We have a lot of players who are really deep and knowledgeable about human space flight and how to operate this craft with a big and deep knowledge base. And I've been having discussions with these persons, and it's been amazing. So yeah, the hardest one to find, I don't know. I don't remember. There's everything has been a little bit hard to find, but also I have a good community who helps me find stuff, or just things randomly shows it up in my DMs or in my inbox or in the resource channels on Discord. So yeah. What was your favorite bug fix? Okay, I jumped down all the way down here now, so let me just scroll up here. Let me ask you that question and then I'll scroll. I don't know why the chat did that. But my favorite bug fix, I'm slightly biased answered, but I think that it was the hunting for that IMU fix. It was such a joy to write. For context, this was about figuring out how I could get the Apollo command module, the Luna module, to properly calculate the attitude it actually has. There was quite a lot of heavy math involved, and it was a stressed period. I spent a couple of weeks. My wife asked if everything is okay with me. I was pushing quite hard to figure this out, but I had great help from the community, the now test pilot, who asked this very question right here in the chat. So thank you for all your insight into this. It was a great hunt. I think that was my favorite one, because the outcome really changed the fidelity of the entire game. Suddenly the game took a step it gained a level up in a way. Suddenly I had this creativity arena that allowed me to just start implementing a lot of other systems based on, having this basic solved. So it's all about, once you have a fundamental change, then it suddenly unlocks other capabilities in the sim. So let me just scroll down here. Yeah, I'm scrolling down because I'm already all the way up here. Yeah, I have my glasses on. Reentry 1.0 is the best news today. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm really stressed about this. It's brutal for my body, but here we are. Any plans to add the shuttle and Russian spacecraft? So the shuttle is in development. It's actually quite far down the line in development. I started developing the space shuttle in 2019, a couple of weeks after my daughters were born. We had to spend quite a lot of time in the hospital, and I actually started chatting with a guy called Chris Kuhn, who had a 3D model of the shuttle interior. And after doing some chatting, I just suddenly randomly pulled it up and I started developing it. So in 2019, I started developing the shuttle, and it's been in development during cold freezes only since then. So the shuttle is coming. The Russian program is a little bit harder, the USSR, Vostok, for example. I have an hour and a half video that I posted on Gagarin Day a couple of years back. And it's already a almost functional and complete module for Reentry, and I'm basically missing creating the academy and the campaign for it. But one of the bigger blockers that I didn't expect for this module was licensing. I don't know what the license is for Russian craft, and with everything going on in the world right now, I've yet to receive an answer on this question. So I don't know what's going to happen with Russian craft, but it's obviously my dream to be able to include this big piece of history into Reentry as well. Reentry is all about the early race to space and human space flight, and they played a large role in this. So, and yes, the shuttle is planned to be a DLC for Reentry. So it's going to be an additional module that can be purchased and added to the already existing craft. And one of the reasons for this is that I want to try to kind of let the game be a complete package with the core scope, which is landing on the moon. And then if people like what they've tried there, they can go in and get the additional craft without having to pay for everything up front. So you can kind of build up on the portfolio of the available spacecraft. But we'll see. This is all new. The initial thing that I need to do with the shuttle is to get it developed, start working on it, get it out of the into the world, get the alpha testing going, get players on board, others to sit inside. Currently, the test pilots has been inside of the space shuttle. It was a great moment when I got to share the cockpit with someone else except for me after many years of being installed on my local computer. So yeah. So yeah, Artemis. So now that you have the base built, are you going to add more details and features? Definitely. The version 1.1 scope is, as I mentioned earlier, landing on the moon and getting into orbit in Mercury and rendezvous and docking in Gemini. The minimal system scope required to be able to reach these goals is currently in Reentry. Obviously, there's been a lot of scope creeps. A lot of systems are way beyond what the initial plan was, but this is all great features to have in the game. It kind of gives 1.0 a much more complete game compared to what I initially thought it was going to be. So I think that the scope creeps were worth it, but eventually this is still just the foundation. So what we can do going towards 2.1 is to continue to iterate on systems, add additional systems. So if you are playing Reentry and you have something that you really, really want to have, a system, it could be the Earth Path Indicator, the EPI, in Project Mercury, for example, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do. It's as simple as that. We're building this game together. I'm a solo developer in this project, but I have you guys with me, the community. So, question: how many people, apart from yourself, have worked on this? So yeah, this is a good follow from the previous comment. This project is mainly developed by myself, and I've been working on this project since 2015. So this today actually marks the 10-year anniversary of this entire project. So I started November 2015 in Seattle. I was looking at some ideas I had, and I was really inspired by PMDG and DCS, and I was thinking that, okay, I want to explore how did spacecraft work, and I didn't really find exactly what my brain wanted me to play. Fully immersive 3D cockpits. You can look around, you can get a feeling of how the cockpit actually looked like. you can press all of the buttons and you can fly into orbit. So that's when I decided that I probably need to write this myself, and I did. And I have a 15-minute long video about this called the 1.0 launch video, which I released 4 weeks ago now. I recommend you to watch that if you want to get more information about this. So any plans for a shuttle? I think that we already covered the shuttle, but just if you have joined it, yes, I'm having plans for the shuttle. It's on the way. So let me just scroll the chat here again. So what is the main scientific source, mainly for this, historic spacecraft flight plans? I'm curious, I think I answered this question earlier. Let me know if that didn't answer your question. Or maybe I reread it, everything. Oh yeah, things are just jumping automatically up and down. Let me just switch the chat view here. Sorry about that. My chat view in OBS was not great, so I'll just quickly switch into YouTube here, and I'll get my stream up and running so I can instead go through everything here. Is Mercury still your favorite craft? Actually, I think that Mercury has this homey feeling to it. It's nice to be alone in space, look through the scope, and kind of Mercury always gives me this orbital feeling. When you're in orbit around Earth, you feel that you're actually in orbit around Earth. The Earth is somehow integrated into the cockpit. The mechanical components, the switches, the scope, the window, everything kind of brings the Earth into the view. While in Gemini, you have your views, but you're focused so much inside of the cockpit, the instruments, you're doing rendezvous. The first times you're actually looking out the window in a rendezvous mission could probably be right before you're doing the visual approach and you do the actual docking with Agena. So I think that Mercury kind of brings me close to Earth. Gemini has great vistas, great views of Earth, but you're so focused. And then in the command module, which is probably right now my favorite craft, you don't see Earth that much. You're busy doing procedures. But I think that with the help of you guys from the community, this the command module has really kind of grown on me. I really enjoy sitting inside of the command module at the moment. Okay, so if someday, for any reason, you'll decide to stop working on the project, hopefully not in the next decade, would you consider making it an open source like Orbiter? That's a good question. The problem with non-open source projects, commercial projects, is that a lot of the assets, a lot of 3D models, a lot of help, a lot of add-ons. When building the Reentry, I'm doing a lot myself, but then you're trying to pull in as a solo dev, you're pulling in add-ons and you're pulling in things. I sometimes I feel like I'm what's the word? Someone who pulls in, assembles the game from stuff. I'm building it, and all of this contains licenses, which is impossible to open source. So it's not going to be an open source project. If that would ever happen, then maybe another project could work. As part of my more industrial or commercial business, I've started working on something called Reentry Open, which is much more open. It doesn't use any external assets, and it's more for professional use. But that could potentially be used for something like that. Okay. some TPs have done stuff with the shuttle. Petri didn't intend that, is true. I just want to comment on this because it really shows the importance of the test pilots. So the test pilots has always been flying the spacecraft from the early days, Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, and now the shuttle. And the bits that they received is basically glued together with duct tape, and you put it in space and you try to do stuff. And a lot of the features in the shuttle I've locked away or made impossible to reach, but somehow the test pilots still were able to do it. For example, I have the ISS in orbit around Earth, and you can actually rendezvous with it in the shuttle already. But I disabled the entire rendezvous calculator. I placed the ISS in a completely different orbit than your ascent, which makes it really hard to dock with it. But the test pilot still managed to dock with it, so you guys are amazing. Thanks. So let me just continue with the list here. So, thanks so much for putting this game together, Petri. It's incredible. Thank you very much. That means a lot. Is there system support for every cockpit input? I would love to build a full physical sim. So I'm working on something called the UDP API. It's basically using UDP to act as an API for the game. So you can build external applications. For example, devices like this. This is using the UDP thing to communicate with the game. So I can use this with Reentry. This is the Apollo guidance computer that works in the command module and the Lunar module in game, and is fully integrated. And this is a physical cockpit part. There's one or two on the Reentry community who's actually building a full cockpit of the Mercury capsule, and I've seen some panels in Apollo. So I'm building up this UDP API that allows you to send commands to Reentry and receive data from Reentry. And the intention here is that you can build external exe files. There's one external file that allows you to render a software version of the disk key outside of Reentry, but it still works with Reentry, and it's using this API. And on the GitHub page for Reentry, I have an example source in Unity, and there's other, I think Martin has added a couple of other examples that uses, I think it's Python and so on, which allows you to start programming towards Reentry. So if you want to build anything with Reentry, use that. And I'm on the Discord, and I'm really happy to see people. I just saw that someone donated here, so thank you a lot for that. So use the UDP API to program against Reentry, and let me know if you need anything, and I'll just add the capabilities on the fly. Okay, so let me just scroll down here. You guys it's great to have you here. Thank you for everyone who has joined the session so far. Please ask questions if you have anything. So let me see. Regards from Italy, best sim ever. Thank you. Of course, I appreciate that. I like to call Mercury the space Cessna for human spaceflight. That's a good one. Nuclear and space education. By the way, nuclear and space education is the one I was referring to as the one helping with the IMU fix and how we should behave. And I had to figure out the math, but nuclear space education allowed me to get everything I needed to solve this issue. So a big shout out. If you ever find the IMU great to work with in Apollo, this is the person you should thank. The moon is actually rising, watching through my window right now. Yes, that's great. We're all in different places on the Earth. It's dark here. It's 20:37. That's 8:37 p.m. So let me scroll down here. So I was curious about your background, engineer, developer, and how you got the idea of developing the simulator. So yeah, I've since I was quite young, I started programming, and my motivation was that I wanted to be a graphics programmer. I started working with I think it was software rendering and the early days of DirectX 8, I think. And I had this dream of becoming a demo scener. A demo scener is someone who uses the GPU and graphics programming to kind of create these real-time, non-interactable videos. It kind of puts together visual fidelity, something nice with music, graphics, and I think that the entire scene was born from the crack industry in terms of software cracking and the wares scene. And the groups wanted to kind of tag their releases with these intros. And this later became a thing, and it became competitions. So I made a crew eventually in the graphics programming scene, and we made demos, and we delivered on some competitions. It was a lot of fun. And after that, graphics programming has always been part of my life. I went through a programming, let's see, sorry. At school, I went through programming and the university, and then I joined Microsoft. Before joining Microsoft, I was a consultant for 3 years in a company, and I delivered SharePoint solutions. It was a lot of fun. At the same time, I was doing one of the bigger shader programming blogs at that time, and it had one day I think it had 14,000 views, and it was this big, I think it was Dum Dum Deer or something in Scotland, a big game developers event, and one guy who attended that sent me a message, said that every screen in the entire area uses my blog to when they're developing the game. So I was like, whoa, okay, that's amazing. So I did graphics programming. I was quite active in the graphics programming scene, did a lot of presentations, and I was eventually awarded something called the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, Microsoft MVP within DirectX and XNA. And then a year later, I got a job offer in Microsoft, and I kind of quit the programming scene and became more of a technical evangelist. I was working with a lot of customers, but within the graphics scene. So I was always focused on graphics and rendering and games and the game scene, simulations, visualization, and so on. So my background is kind of diverse. I've always been a technical guy from when I was young, and with a big passion for graphics programming. And how do you get an idea of developing the simulator? I think I touched a little bit about it initially, but for everyone who's new here, just a quick summary. I was very inspired by PNDG, Flight Simulator, FSX back then, and DCS, and I wanted to experience something like that, but with spaceflight. But I didn't find exactly what my brain wanted, so that's kind of when this project started. The scope was much smaller than what you have today, what 1.0 was. And the initial plan was that this was going to be a weekend-long project. And this weekend-long project turned into, hey, this is fun, this is great, I'm in orbit. And suddenly this project was built on, and then 10 years later, we're at the 1.0 release. So things got, I don't know what happened, and I don't know if I should be happy I made this decision or not, but here I am. Can we have Reentry open? Yeah, eventually. I hope that if I get it complete enough, then it could work. I actually would like to show it someday, because I've, it's, what can I say? I've implemented a version of Artemis and Orion in there, and I can see the inside the Orion cockpit, and I can use the software. I can get into orbit. I can deploy those, electrical things. I can gather energy from the sun. It's amazing, and it's been a lot of fun working on that project. That's a more professional project, but with everything going on, I think that eventually Artemis should be a part of the Reentry world as well. So, thanks for the game. What is the approximate time frame for expanding VR functionality? Oh, that's a great question. VR is, I enjoy VR. I have my VR headset right here. The other side here. And this is what I'm using to develop VR. This is the Quest 2. And I want to be able to let you experience Reentry in VR. The current implementation is very basic, but it should be much better than the initial implementation. So this initial implementation was a preliminary VR implementation, and it was brutal to work with. It was a research project. I didn't know exactly what I was doing because Reentry, it's kind of a project that is constantly living on the borders of the Unity engine capabilities. Unity engine is floating point, so the universe doesn't fit in the numbers Reentry Unity is using to render its coordinate system. So there's a lot of magic and a lot of tricks going on to make that possible. It was at GDC 2016 or 2017 or something. I met up with someone who's working on another, I think it was part of KSP and then the Universe Sandbox. We discussed quite a lot about some of the challenges of building a spaceflight simulator. I learned a lot from that. I applied a lot of this into a Reentry, and the initial version of Reentry and Apollo back in 2018, if you try to fly to the moon there, you would be in a very unstable world. Your orbital mechanics, everything was living their own life, and it was brutal. And at one point, I was sitting there saying that I don't know if I can solve this. It's just too hard to make this game. I was in orbit around the moon. I was planning our orbital mechanics burns to do the TLI burn, and just it almost worked, but you could always crash in the moon, and I didn't have control of the implementation at all. So eventually I removed my entire initial floating origin implementation and just scrapped it and rewrote the entire thing, and that took a year. And this is something I'll call the TSS. It was a big thing back then, true scale system. And I had to upgrade everything in the game to support the new true scale system. But the beauty of true scale system is what you see in the game right now. You can get into the moon, you can have stable orbits, or at least the best I can do with the library that I'm using. And Reentry is using Lyra engine, which is my own orbital mechanics engine, and eventually I met or reached out to a guy called Peter, and we had a lot of discussions. And he's making another orbital mechanics engine called Gravity Engine, and I was in touch with this person for a couple of years, and still am. And getting features and kind of integrating that with Reentry. And after that, I think that Reentry is suddenly now having great orbital mechanics. A lot of the work there is with input and running on software that has been developed with someone with a PhD in astrodynamics. So it's the orbit mechanics is quite serious in Reentry. So I'm in AbleView work, hence the super chat. Thank you very much for everyone who's been donating and sending these super thanks. I really appreciate it. So I just want to say that out now. And the question is, how many of those who flew those George's machines have seen your work? We need a video with them. Unfortunately, those who have seen the work would accept, no, actually, they are not here among us anymore, but I've had a lot of chats with actual astronauts from the early era of spaceflight, and we had Walter Cunningham playing the first version of the CSM back when the backlights were green, but it was the first thing that you could see in VR, and he was shown the game when he was visiting the Microsoft campus by a colleague, and he was clearly enjoying what he saw. But it's been a while, and right now things are a little bit different. But another thing that happened with Reentry was that I got a couple of emails which I didn't respond because I didn't see them, but I suddenly got a call on my phone, and it was I think it was 4 years ago. And it was someone in London who was working on a documentary for Netflix about Apollo 13. And he asked if I would like to join the product as a guy who can help them with the scenes and with a lot of the technical challenges of creating a documentary like this involves. And it was amazing, and I joined in, and on the launch party of this Netflix documentary is called Apollo 13 Survival, and it was released, I think it was last September last year, so September a year plus ago. And at the launch party or the private screening party for this event, I met a lot of the Lovell family, and in Apollo 13, the movie, and in the documentary, and a lot of Apollo documentaries, Apollo 13 documentaries, you can see the small kid, and which is the son of Lovell, and I talked a lot with him during this time. That was amazing. But yeah, thank you for the super thank. This ski, oh yeah, this ski is amazing. Let's see. Just scrolling down here. Question, do you still have your day job or are you full-time in this now? I'm full-time on this right now. This I made a transition to focus on Reentry a little while ago, and now I'm trying to focus on Reentry as much as possible. I still do some other things, but Reentry is right now the main thing that I'm working on in my daily life. Are you working on any other games? Not at the moment. I had my hands full with Reentry and the Shuttle and Artemis and these things. So I'm still very much invested in Reentry. This is where my focus is, and this is where I want to have my focus on. So I'm here with Reentry. Thank you. You're very good at what you do. Really, game development and literal rocket science. That's cool. Thank you. That means a lot. It's a brutal field. I feel like a child on Christmas. Same here. I'm very nervous about the release. Everything can happen. This is the first time I'm releasing something that has been this personal, big passion project. So it's been, it's going to be a rough few days, but here we are, jumping into it. So Martin is saying that we have examples of Python, Rust, as well as libraries. And you can pip install or cargo install Reentry UDP and have the enums, etc. Yeah, so go and check out the example if you're curious about programming things for Reentry, external things. I'm waiting a bit to put my review on Steam, but I'm thinking it will be something along the lines of can't recommend this game because it isn't one. It's a full-on simulator. Thoughts? Well, that's of course. Thank you very much. I really appreciate anyone reviewing the game. Reviews are the most important thing with a project like this. It's the biggest factor of, getting my project out there and seen. So I really appreciate everyone has been reviewing the game, and some of your reviews has been absolutely amazing and really motivating for me to read. So I first of all just want to say thank you for everyone who's been throwing in reviews about Reentry. And secondly, this is a good question because everything is relative in a way. A simulator game is relative. For someone who enjoys playing simulator games, Reentry can be way too much. It's a brutal game to learn. There's a lot of systems. There's hundreds of systems in Apollo, and there's a lot in Gemini, and there's a lot in Mercury, and then suddenly you have the lunar module, and then soon the space shuttle, which just quadruples the systems. And there's 1,000 switches that you can flip, and they're all connected somehow into simulated system, placeholder systems, gamified systems. But in one way or another, a lot of these switches actually has a function, and you can go brutally wrong with not having things properly configured. Doing re-entry in Apollo, for me, I'm getting automatic re-entry to work, but the feedback is that automatic re-entry does not work. What is the reason for that? Most likely it's a bug in my implementation. Writing these things is hard because this guidance computers will all work differently between different hardware. So I'll need to figure out the entry guidance. But my point is that the Apollo entry can completely fail, and you can skip Earth, or you can burn up in the atmosphere if you forget to flip one of those switches and configure it in the correct place. This applies for absolutely everything. You can fire your retrograde engines in the wrong direction, and you will never be able to reach home. A few years ago, one of my test pilots and me, we were doing a live stream in the first edition of the Mercury Control Center. It was a multiplayer mission, and I was the mission controller. And it was Aaron, just to throw out the name, who accidentally bumped into a switch, and it jettisoned his retrograde rockets. And there we were in the middle of the live stream with a space capsule, the Mercury capsule, called Aurora, and we had to stop the session because it was impossible to get home. So yeah, it's possible to do things which is not intended. And my point is that Reentry is not fully on rails. There's a lot of things, and you are actually in control of these spacecraft. So, but then if you're a NASP player, orbiter player, or someone coming from really high fidelity simulators, then Reentry could be too little. Everything is relative, Reentry, my design point with Reentry is to have a medium fidelity simulator. But a medium fidelity simulator with hundreds of systems and thousands of switches is still quite a lot to learn. So it's a medium fidelity, and I try to bring in kind of this gamified elements into the game. So I would say that it's a question of relativity. For someone, it's a brutal simulator. I would say for quite a lot. But then again, you have more hardcore players who thinks that this is arcade. So let's see here. Thank you for your masterpiece. Cover all 3 programs. Thank you very much. I'm going to go through all of these chats after this session, of course, and just want to say thanks for everyone who's been chatting here, asking questions. I have another Super One here. Please have a good beer today. You deserve one, or many actually. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. I will make sure to do that. And by the way, this Ask Me Anything is one of the sessions part of the Reentry release party. I called it the Reentry Con 2025, the 1.0 release party, or the launch party. So tomorrow I'm having additional sessions as well. I'm going to play the game after this. I'm going to be playing a short session where I'm going to showcase the new flight mode feature that I added into this event in the 1.0 bits. So I'll showcase that after this. But then tomorrow, I'm going to go through the community. A lot of these community-made devices will be showcased, and I'm going to go through how to play Reentry and have another Ask Me Anything session, as well as playing the game. So make sure that you join us tomorrow as well. This is just the beginning of this little launch party convention center thing, whatever you call it. But the intent is that this entire thing is made for you, the community. And the reason for that is that you've been with me since the start of this project. You've been with a lot of the decisions, and a lot of the things that you're playing in Reentry is the direct outcome of input from the community and your involvement in this project. So I just want to say thank you for helping me create Reentry. So any distant future plans for programs that never flew? So let me, the main intent of Reentry is manned or crewed space flight, human space flight, actually flown spacecraft. So my focus is going to be that, and that focus is so big that I will never be able to cover the entire thing. So I think that for my part and for this project's kind of focus, it will not go that direction. So I remember back when the Lunar module first got introduced and there was no runnable checklist for it, so I had to make my own first startup. I didn't know anything about space back then, and I spent months on it. Thank you. This is the dedication that you see in the community, and we learn a lot from that, and you learn a lot from that, and suddenly you've been part of this community for years. Thank you, DJ, and I just want to give a big shout out to DJ for helping me with a lot of the sound design. Part of the 1.0 release has been to improve the sound design. We've seen the patches for the last couple of months, which has all been ramping up to 1.0 bits. And if you sit inside the Mercury capsule and you turn on the inverters, you can hear the inverter fans just kind of making sound. And then you pull up the fans, the suit fan, you hear another sound effect. You turn on the cockpit fan, you hear another sound effect. A lot of things are making sound effects in the cockpit, and this is just the beginning. And I had a huge revamp of the entire reaction control system sound effect, the sound that you hear on the jets. Dorian, one of the test pilots, has also been really big influencer of sound design. And I just want to say thank you. You can really hear the dynamics of the cockpit coming to life all because of your work. So I appreciate that. Thank you for everyone who has been donating and sending me super thanks. I really appreciate that. Wonderful, wonderful work. Congratulations. Thank you, Duffel Pod. Appreciate it. How is the shuttle implementation right now? I would say the shuttle implementation is good enough that it's a lot of fun. And I think that the shuttle is probably the most advanced work that I've done in Reentry. Because I've learned so much from Mercury. I learned so much from Gemini. I learned so much from the command module, the Lunar module, and then I learned even more from doing all of these community efforts, reiterating, improving systems. And suddenly I start working on the shuttle and I have this huge fundamental knowledge about how these things should have been written. So the space shuttle is actually really advanced. And once I rolled out the first bits to the test pilot, and I told them that this supports only the ascent. But the way that I implemented the systems and how they all work it was really relief for me to see that they're able to do quite a lot with it. So I would say that the space shuttle is in a really good state. And once it reaches its kind of early access state, then I think that you will, if you enjoy Reentry, you will enjoy what the shuttle has to offer. But keep in mind that the shuttle is not going to replace, for example, flight gear shuttle or the shuttle module for orbiter, which is, much deeper in system simulations. I still want to kind of maintain that gamified aspect of what Reentry typically offers. Is co-op currently in the game? No, it's not in the game. It's something that I'm working on. It's been in research. I have a couple of state updates. You can go into the state development and state update playlist, and you can see me playing the Gemini co-op live. It's been out with the test ballots, and I've been able to fly with it. There's a lot of things that I need to still work on, but I haven't taken development time out from version 1.0 bug fixes to work on the Gemini co-op. I wanted to focus on 1.0 and the feature it had to offer before I'm starting to go really deep on making Gemini co-op possible. But having a friend by your side in this really advanced spacecraft, that would be absolutely amazing. I think that if I could even let a friend be a cockpit operator without, being able to do absolutely everything that the commander could do, that would even be a huge step in the right direction initially. So let's see where it goes. It's currently in research and development. Okay. Do you play games for fun too? I do. I enjoy playing games. I always enjoyed playing games. I've been obviously very occupied with graphics programming, but at my birthday this year, I received Elden Ring from my friend, and I've been absolutely enjoying it. Last year, I completed Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with my daughters. That was absolutely one of the best experiences I've had, so that's been amazing. And I love role-playing games like Baldur's Gate, Ultima Online. When I was young, I spent way too much in Ultima Online, Final Fantasy 11, so on. I believe it's only mission control or capsule co-op. Yes, Entropy. Hello, Entropy. Great to see you here. Is the shell behind it 3D printed? No, this is actually a Lego model. I got it for my birthday, and I built it with my daughters. They were 5 years back then, so I spent a month building it. It took some time. And then you have this other way. The other Lego model, I also built this with my daughters back when they were 3, and that's the Saturn 5. And then I have a model of the command module, which is a dragon model. I also have the Display replica made from the community. I'll showcase that more tomorrow. I have other really cool things that I use when playing Reentry. These are hard copy manuals made by someone in the community, Martha Guth. And there's links where you can see these in the community as well. So be sure to check those out. These are really great to have when you're playing the game. So just, it's amazing to be at the 1.0 release and then suddenly see people making stuff for the game. I have another joystick here. It's a translational stick made by the community. So yeah, anyways, I'm drifting off, and let's get back to the questions. Okay, let's see here. I fully intend to create Richard Boyd Cooper's Mercury missions one day in VR. I have historic missions in Reentry, and just a quick word on that. Historic missions is probably the most fun that you might have in Reentry. It's not for everyone. The main challenge is to be able to keep up with the sync and the flow of the mission, but it's even from the developer of the game knowing everything. When I first was sitting in the Mercury Atlas 6 mission, and I played the entire thing. It's 3.5 hour long. It's the longest mission in the game. All other missions, you can estimate 10, 15 minutes to an hour, but then Mercury Atlas 6 is a long one, but it's an absolutely amazing experience to sit there and experience the flight with the real historic comms. Building historic missions for Reentry has been brutal. I could spend a month or two Apollo 13, I think I spent 3 months cutting transcript audio files and designing the mission flow. It was brutal mentally. I hit rock bottom maybe 5 times when creating these historic missions, but I think that is all worth it. When you go inside the cockpit and you sit there and you experience how everything works, and you hear mission control and the dynamic between the astronaut and ground, it's just amazing to see. Have you ever dreamt, okay, I have another super thanks, so I really appreciate this. These are things that can make sure that I get enough coffee, I get everything I need when doing this session. So I really appreciate you donating and sending these super thanks. So have you ever dreamt of implementing in-capsule multiplayer and perhaps even flight control? That would be absolutely nuts. Yeah, so I believe that we touched a little bit upon it already. Of course, I'm lagging a little bit behind the chat here, so you probably heard all about this, but it's something that I dream of. In-capsule multiplayer would be absolutely amazing, and to be able to sit with a friend in there, that would be awesome. And then mission control multiplayer modes exists currently as an alpha feature for Mercury and Apollo mission control. Paolo Mangini, who's a friend and test pilot who worked on a museum replica of the entire mission control room motor of Apollo, allows you to walk around and see all the details. The model is so good that you can step into the Apollo Mission Control Center and you can suddenly just feel like, whoa, I'm here, I'm in the Moker room, this is what it looked like. And suddenly, if you're in a multiplayer session, you can go in and sit down and start configuring the computers, the intercoms. You can create dedicated intercom rooms to talk with specific individuals in multiplayer or the capsule, or you can make a direct link to flight and start talking with them on the microphone. You can configure your monitors to what TV channel it should tune into, so you can monitor different parts of the capsule, and you have telelights above you. It's an amazing experience. So I worked a lot with Paolo on bringing this museum-like model, first of all, possible to render in real time, because his model was detailed. There was a lot of polygons. I've done every trick in the book, and I have a lot of graphics programming books behind me here. Shader X, GPU Gems, a lot of those books. And I've been trying to apply everything my brain contains to make it possible to render this amazing model in 3D. The same applies for the command module interior. It's a laser scan of the Apollo 11 cockpit by the Smithsonian, and it's extremely high fidelity. And I did a lot to fuse it together with my own model of the entire panel. So all the panels are my model, and then the interior, which is more of the things that you see but you don't interact too much with, is laser scans. So there's a lot of work going on to make it possible to render this amount of polygons with high resolution textures on the interiors of the command module. So the mission control room, absolutely amazing work. And I want to just say thank you to Paolo if you're seeing this, for creating this. I think that there's a lot of years of work behind that model alone. So when you're stepping into Reentry, you see 10 years of my life in Reentry, but also maybe 7 years of his building that model and the laser scan, and everyone has been testing. So there's a lot of work in Reentry and the bits that we now call version 1.0. Thank you again for the super thank. So just going through the chat here, everything just jumped. So let's see if I can catch up here. Let me know if I'm skipping something, just re-ask them. Reentry is a work of art. It should be used in schools. It actually has a commercial license, and some schools are using it. And I think that there's a couple of museums that have parts of it in there. So that's, of course, amazing. I didn't expect this when I started the 1 week weekend project that it was initially supposed to be. Yeah, if Amy would be able to play this, Andrew Morris, then that would be awesome. But I don't know how hard it is to balance consumables of the spacecraft, especially for Apollo. I think that this is a good question, because this is where the community, helps me. I'm not a great astronaut in a way. I make the game, and then you play it in a way. So, but Artemis, let me know. I'm trying to balance it. I'm trying to make things behave slightly like the realistic graphs. I have all of that data available. Just pull the cable here. I have all of that data available, so I can make everything realistic, but that also makes the game really hard. So one of my bigger challenges here is that I need to figure out how can I make this a gamified? How can I gamify the Apollo command module and the Luna module? How can I gamify the Mercury capsule, the Gemini, which is already extremely complex vehicles? And finding a balance between how much fuel was actually used, for example, by the reaction control system in real life, and how much would a player who's casually playing this game, and I would say casually, even if you spend a month trying to learn it, it will still be very different from what the astronauts were going to be using. So I'm trying to make this or modifiers that does balance the entire consumables on board: the oxygen consumption, the fuel cell consumptions, hydrogen, nitrogen, helium, all of these things that flows through the pipes. If I would make that one-to-one with real life, such as, for example, what NASP for Orbiter does in the Apollo command module and the Luna module, then it would be potentially too hard for most players to play Reentry, because you would spend 10 hours flying to the moon, and then you're depleted of the reaction control system, and you had to, most likely hit Alt F4 with a lot of force and rage quit. So I'm trying to figure out, what is the right balance between the consumables on board. Love your jacket. Thank you. I appreciate it. This is lunar replica jacket. I bought it last week, and I got it shipped and ready for release just in time. So thanks for Lunar Replica Floats for getting it to me so fast. I appreciate that. Reentry has been there for me in my darkest hours. I don't know. It brings a lot of emotion to hear this. It's been a brutal project, but then suddenly you see things like this. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So Reentry is a work of art. Thank you, 111. So happy for this release. It immortalizes the spacecraft Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo craft beautifully. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's, as you know, it's been a lot of work getting that to that stage. Peter, you work on it on a daily basis. Maybe you could consider a patron so we can support you better. That's a good idea. I don't know how to set that up correctly, so I need to look into it. I've been extremely focused on just geeking out on making the best possible spaceflight experience that my brain can make together with the community. So maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I can get some additional support to make that happen. Reentry is today we release as 1.0, so anything can happen. I don't know if the game is even ready, but it's the best I can do, and this is the absolute maximum, I don't know. My brain has been a maximum capacity making what you already have. So I've done my best. This is the best I can do, but I will keep improving. 1.0 is just the beginning towards a journey to 2.0. And I plan, as you know from the stream, to implement a lot of other things. But if you have ideas about Patreon or any other ways, please let me know, share it, reach out to me, let's have a chat. Yeah, I appreciate any help. Is the future of the game also going to include in this whole shuttle program and perhaps the Soviet programming? So with regards to Soviet, I mentioned this initially. Vostok is something that I have almost completed the implementation of, but I don't know anything about the licensing of that side, so I cannot pursue that until I know that, and the space shuttle is on the way. Are you going to add the AGS to the LM at some point? So AGS, that's the backup computer, to put it simply, the abort guidance system, if I recall correctly. And it's a small computer that is located kind of to the right of the cockpit. And initially I said, no, I'm not going to touch the AGS. I have way too much touching everything else. So the AGS is just going to be there as a nice little backdrop thing. But then I made the Apollo 13 historic mission, and I added some simple commands to it. So it's actually possible to use it to align your backup platform, zero it, or align it with the IMU. So maybe I'll add some things, but it's not going to be a really sophisticated implementation at this point, at least. But who knows towards 2.0? Let's see what happens. It's an interesting computer. It's just a lot of work. And my hands are full with the lunar guidance computer and the command module computer. Do you think it's possible to make the Earth geometry smoother and more rounded? It's a bit noticeable in VR in low altitude orbit. Yeah, you can see some of the polygons of Earth. And I think that I can use tessellation to solve this. And this is one of those things that I really want to solve. But it's also one of the hardest things of writing a spaceflight simulator. If I could have a digital twin of Earth and the moon, and I knew how to make it, then I would have done so, because this is what I want. I want my game to just be super immersive. The current visual fidelity of Earth and the moon is the absolute best I can do, given the constraints of living on the borders of the capabilities of the Unity engine, the resource capabilities of how much resources you can put into the GPU memory and the system memory without making the game crash. And then suddenly you have this high fidelity cockpits and panels and everything. I want everything to be photorealistic. I want everything to be equally look the same as they did in real life, but that I can always just make a sample towards that ideology. But I think that towards 2.1, in addition to VR, in addition to some improved systems and multiplayer modes in the space shuttle, external views and the rendering of Earth, both from internal and external views, and the moon is going to be something that I really want to improve. But I don't know how to do it, so I'll just need to figure it out. Will there be special effects for explosion and damage in Apollo 13 mission? Thank you for the great work. Yeah, I started with adding we're leaking something into space. So if you're actually looking out the window, you can see that you're actually leaking gas into space, and you can see that. But I plan to add more. I want to improve the mission to at least have more of the explosion, and then also the open panel at the side that you can see in through, I think it's the fuel cells and so on that you can see. So thank you for everyone reviewing the game and recommending it to people. I really appreciate that. Just reading through the chat here. There's an Easter egg in the game. So I mentioned Aurora and the jettison of that retro pack during the live stream, and that turned into an Easter egg. So yes, there's an Easter egg around that entire event, and you can actually rendezvous with it. So, but that's all I'm going to say about that. It's an Easter egg, so. New features, Kindstone. Do we have actual consumable simulation planned for Apollo, like water, oxygen, and other things that might make the mission end up in failure for reasons of... There are actually a lot of consumables involved, and some systems will cease to function, but I'm not throwing in game overs yet, because a lot of these depletions in oxygen, for example, could be imbalancing issues from my side. So once I know that, I have a good implementation and good balance between these consumables, then I can start throwing game overs and make the game a lot harder for you to play. But right now, if I would do that and you would die because of a bug in the oxygen system from my side, then you would become quite annoyed. And there's quite a lot of cases like this already in the game. So it's an act of balancing. Will this come to the Steam Deck? If the Steam Deck, if I can figure out how to run it on the Steam Deck properly, then yes. I had it go through the review a couple of times, and there's been some minor things that prevents it from being supported on the Steam Deck. But I think that there's a few players who actually runs the game on the Steam Deck. But it's not officially supported. A bit Owen Schnell, a bit of an odd question, but has the ECS been modeled correctly in Apollo? The ECS is it's a simplified implementation in Apollo, and if you go through the manual, I've tried to draw a lot of diagrams, and it showcases the ECS, the environmental control system, and my implementation is actually really large. But it's still a simplification compared to the real thing. And ECS is one of the things that is probably the hardest thing to implement correctly, especially with regards to time scaling. So if I would implement a true-to-life ECS system, then in a way I had to maybe disable time scaling or limit it to a maximum of 20x, which would make a full Apollo mission of 2 weeks, even in 20x, take a lot of time in full time scale. So the biggest issue with ECS is one, of course, it's hard to simulate, but I believe that the goal of Reentry is not to be able to simulate it fully. My goal is that you can interact with it and you can see the instrumentation from it, and you can work with it, and you can configure it and see it kind of operating in a way, but not to have a true-to-life ECS system. Thanks to everyone with the congratulation of the 1.0 release. So I'm just reading through here. Great to see these chats going. I look forward to just going through the replay here and see properly read everything here. Right now, my brain is looking for these questions. Do you plan a solo version of the mission control with AI NPC, maybe for training? It's a question that I've been asked before as well, and I would love to say yes, and there is an option where I would be able to pass a stream of data to all the consoles in Mission Control, but then suddenly you wouldn't have too much way of influencing, because that would be a playback of data. I don't know how to properly gamify that. It could throw some random things to you, but the beauty of mission control is that you're offloading a lot of the processing to one computer, and that's the astronaut who's doing all the calculations on board. And then mission control players, they have their own logic, and I've been going very deep on the logic in the mission control center. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I've been recreating the projector systems. I've been recreating how the TV channels, the data has been fed to various things, and you can configure every single desktop to get feeds from various systems on the cockpit, and then you work together with this data. And handling all of that in one client is just going to be too much. And then figure out how to gamify that into a solo thing with AI and stuff. I think that, I don't know if my brain could handle solving that at the moment, at least. When will a shuttle model come into early access? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know yet. I want it to get it into more proper development soon. So now that 1.0 is released, I'm planning on spending 1.0 to version 1.1 doing kind of reactive work. So I'm trying to listen to the community, react on critical issues and things that we didn't detect in early access, or things that we did detect in early access but I haven't had the capability of solving or the brain power to solve. So let's see what and when version 1.1 gets out. But then at version 1.1, I'm planning to start and ramp up the space shuttle development, and then start releasing the early access bits of the space shuttle. I want to get the space shuttle out into early access as soon as possible, just to get feedback from you, just as I've been doing with Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo, because this is the best way that I can implement stuff in the game. Your feedback, as I've been saying a lot during this entire history of this game, means a lot to this entire project. So I think that the best way of making Space Shuttle happen is to just put it in your hands, get the feedback, and start tuning it to become that gamified experience that Reentry is known for. Okay, I'm just going through the chat here. I think I lost. All right, here we go. Yeah, so Kindstone, I just want to send you a big thank you and a big shout out. You did exceptional work with translating most of the game, the UI, every UI element, all the Mercury missions, the historic missions, and the Gemini mission, and the historic mission there, to a Russian. So that was everyone who steps into Reentry and thinks that, okay, I'm going to translate this game. You will soon figure out how much work has gone into creating the missions alone. It's a brutal set of things to translate. So I just want to say thank you for doing it. It means a lot. Any plans to add more Apollo historical missions? Yes, I have plans to add more historical missions, but right now I want to add the flight plan mode and try to kind of get that thing going to at least allow you to fly the craft that the game offers. In that way, I'll showcase this pretty soon, but the flight plan mode is kind of like a historic mission, but without all the mission control thing. The mission control thing is something that I wish to add more of course. with the real audio that you can experience. But it's such drain on my head to make those. So I need to get 1.0 out. It happened today, and then get over this initial thing, and then I can kind of restructure and see which ones I should start with. For example, I would really love to see Apollo 8 in the game with historic cons. Apollo 8 is one of my favorite missions, and it adds a lot to players who has made it to Apollo and learn the command module, but has yet to do anything with the lunar module. But they can step into an historic mission that you don't need to care about the lunar module, for example. Is it possible to make the stars more point-like, have them fade out, daylight on side Earth due to light? Yes, that's fully possible. I actually have support for this. I've been working quite a lot on the star system, but I have yet to fully integrate all the capabilities of it. But I have exposure. I can make them fade out based on, if you're on the sunny side, you shouldn't see stars in space. So I can fade those out if you're on the sunny side, for example. I can make them fade in and out based on how you're looking, based on the angle to the sun. I can do a lot of this logic. It's just about doing it. But let's talk about it eventually, DJ. I'd like to know more about the Merc, the Disky manuals. Discard this question if you answered them in the meantime. So yeah, I did talk a little bit about it, but I'm not sure if you were here. But I have a full session tomorrow planned for this. So it's called the community event. It's going to be at this time tomorrow. So be sure to check it out. I'm going to showcase everything and talk about it, and just show you how awesome things the community does for real. This adds a lot of immersion to the game. Having these hard copy manuals, having a disk key, making noises in the background here, doing displays, having the joysticks, everything just adds a lot to it. I'm just going through the chats here. There's a lot of things. So the shuttle is going to open the doors for ISS. I'm just going to comment on this because ISS is obviously an important part of the space shuttle. And having ISS is something that I really want to do. And it's currently in orbit. In my shuttle implementation is orbiting Earth, and as I mentioned, the test pilot can dock with it. But it would be, of course, awesome to be able to take that arm, the Canadarm, and pick it up and connect it to an ISS, a persistent ISS. I'm not sure if I'm going to go that way. First, I need to make sure that the payload things works. But yeah. Question, as someone involved in a simulation development team, Falcon 4 BMS, it's great to have you here, DJ. I've made a couple of comments from you before, but Falcon 4 BMS is amazing. I know that there's a lot of players of Reentry who also does Falcon 4 BMS. So I don't know how on earth I can manage and handle such an enormous project on your own. I don't know, it's hard to handle, but my brain, I'm a programmer. I cut everything into small pieces and I try to solve one by one thing instead of taking the entire thing. But sometimes this entirety just overwhelms me and I have a meltdown or demotivation. I have to go out and sit in the sun and do bonsai for a month and then I can come back in. So stuff like that happens. It's a big undertaking, but having the community with me, as I mentioned many times, it's extremely important. So many questions has been asked today. So many people are with me for this release. So thanks for being part of me on this journey. I never felt alone in this project. Skylab, please. Skylab is already an early access or an alpha feature in the game. You can go into settings, toggle that you want to opt in for alpha features, and then select the Skylab, and you can dock with it. It's going to be hard to do it, but it's fully possible. There's sunlight in Finland? No, it's dark outside. It is very dark. No sunlight at the moment. I haven't seen the sun the whole day. It's been cloudy. So yeah, this Ask Me Anything has been really long. I've tried to scroll through everything, but it keeps jumping it up and down. But getting to version 1.0 has been extremely brutal. When you install the 1.0 bits and you start playing around with it, I just want to say thank you for doing that and kind of being involved with this project, this community in one way or another. Please let me know if there's anything you would like to share. If you're having issues, if you're having troubles, or if you have suggestions, feedback, or any other cool things, let me know. And I'm always available on the Discord server and on YouTube and on the Steam forums occasionally. So make sure to reach out if I can help you in any way. The good thing about this community, especially on Discord, is that we have a lot of active players there. So if you have questions about the game, or if you're struggling understanding a system, then you can always get answers and help from the community. The good thing about that is that I'm a developer. I'm developing Reentry. He just hit 1.0, and part of this package is a huge set of academy lessons that I've tried to design, and I tried to figure out, okay, how do I teach someone to operate this spacecraft? And teaching someone to operate a spacecraft is, in a way, a profession on its own. So it's really hard to really know what it takes to write these academy lessons. I've done a lot of iterations. I've learned a lot from doing it, and I hope that the academy lessons will be able to let you learn how to fly and operate these spacecraft. But if you're struggling, the flight manuals are there, and the community are there. So please use the tools around you. You can always think of Discord, for example, as mission control. So when you're in orbit and you're struggling with things, ask the questions and see if someone is available to answer. So yeah, any other questions? Or did I get through everyone? I think so. Hello and welcome. Yeah, we've been live for I don't know how long, an hour and a half or something. So I think that now I'm going to take a small break, and then I'll do a live stream. The plan was to do it on the Steam broadcast thing. If I can get everything up and running, I might do it there. If not, I'll do it here on YouTube. And then I'll showcase the new flight plan mode and talk a little bit about it. And I'll do the Apollo 8 launch, and I'll get it into orbit. So, yeah. Are you planning to keep developing the simulation trial alone? We'll see. The problem with Reentry and this space life is that it's a niche project. It's in the entirety of everything that goes on, this is a small project. It's not too many humans who know about this game. So if you want to share this game in one way or another, or stream or do anything, then thank you. It's great to get some marketing and help on that front. But secondly, there's also a limited amount of people who want to sit inside a spacecraft and learn how to operate it and spend a lot of time doing that, because this is time invested into Reentry and learning that. But the outcome is amazing. I know that from my own perspective and from the histories that's been shared with me from players, is that when you've been playing Reentry and you go to, for example, a museum or you see a documentary about space flight, you suddenly know a lot of what goes on in that craft, and you know how to operate the craft, maybe even, and know how the systems work, and that's a really a nice feeling to have. Okay, with that, thank you for everyone who's been saying out the super thanks. That's been absolutely great to see. So thank you for that. And for everyone who has asked questions, thank you for asking questions and being part of this. I hope that this was helpful. Please join me tomorrow as well, where I walk through the community, how the community works and the community efforts. And then I'll have another Ask Me Anything session tomorrow evening as well. So, yes, thanks everyone. This is Petri, the developer of Reentry, and I hope that you will enjoy version 1.0 and what it has to offer. And welcome to ReentryCon 2025, the live Reentry release party. And the entire thing behind this is to have an online event for you, the community, so you can get involved, so I can celebrate this launch with someone else than being alone in my home. So that's why I made this. I hope that you will enjoy it. And thank you everyone for being part of this.